Morning, everybody. So we're back on the road, and I want to talk a little bit today about the muscle testing and the questioning a little bit. And this is just a little bit of my thoughts on this. So with the muscle testing, there's a variety of ways that you can do muscle testing. And like I said, I'm sure there probably are a lot of great videos on this online. And it's kinesiology type muscle testing, but it's basically where you're going to be applying pressure in a way that you'll be able to get a read, essentially, on the weakness of your muscles. So there's a way to do this with a two-person test, which is where you have your arm out and the person stands behind you, and they will put one hand on your shoulder and the other will be on your wrist, kind of circling the wrist. And the objective is to hold your hand out, your arm out, strong. And then when you say the word yes, or you can say my name is, and then say your name. And when the person pushes down on your arm, it should hold if it's the statement is true to you. And if it falls, if the arm drops down or gives slightly, then the answer is no. So if you were to say yes, the arm should say strong when the person pushes down on it for you. And if you were to say no, or my name is Fred, unless your name is Fred, then the arm would fall down. So, or would give slightly. So that's kind of just one concept. The other thing you can do is to make like an OK symbol with your fingers, where your thumb and your index finger come together in a circle. And then you'll take kind of like creating a chain link with the other hand. You would put the other thumb and index finger inside of that and then pull. So, and the objective is to creating basically like a chain link. When you pull, if what you're saying yes, for example, that should not break. But when you say no, it would slide and it would pop out. So the links will give. And one of the there's some challenges here. A lot of people don't drink enough water, and that electricity that's flowing through your system, that's kind of helping you to get this kind of a read, does need the water in your body. So it's really important to drink water before you try and do muscle testing. And in some cases, people may be short on minerals. And the even more interesting one that I've run into more commonly than I thought I would, is basically considered a reversal. With a reversal, no is yes and yes is no on the testing responses. And while there's a way to try to flip that, there's a method for flipping that. But what I think is noteworthy is that oftentimes, just by doing clearing and just by doing this work, that polarity will fix itself. I actually had this happen with a person that I was working with, where before we started, everything was in reverse, and then halfway through, it flipped back to forward as yes, or strong as yes and weak as no. There's also a standing test method where you can stand facing north, and your feet will be kind of even to just like shoulder level, and your head's just kind of floating there. You're just really loose. And then when you say yes, you just allow your body to just move, and just move, and it'll be subtle. Where when you say yes, it'll typically move forward gently or backwards gently. So you can attempt the tests with standing test if the finger test is challenging. I think if you're going to be doing a lot of sequences of questions, standing test can be difficult to keep going with it. However, it is probably the easiest test. So if you're having a hard time doing muscle testing, the standing test is the one that I found to be one of the easiest. The finger chain link test has been also quite great for people. So, but sometimes I think here's some of the nuances of this, though. So as I was saying about the polarity reversal one, where no is yes and yes is no, just go with it. I wouldn't worry about trying to switch it for the time being. You know how to get your answers. If you know what direction your body is going for yes or no, if if your finger is given and it pulls apart on a yes, then now you know what yes is. That's your baseline. So just go ahead and go with it, and you can still get through your questions and do your clearing that way. And later down the road we can talk about trying to switch the reversal, but I think it's going to be more interesting to see if it reverses on its own through the process of doing these clearing. And it would be noteworthy to make, if that does happen, to maybe take note of what you cleared when that happened, that sent it going back in the right direction. So that's how you're going to establish the baseline, is before you start any of your muscle testing. It's going to be yes, and see if yes is strong or if it's weak, and then no, and test again, and then you can start with your questions, and just make sure you drink a lot of water. And if you've had a lot of water to drink and the muscle tests are still inconclusive, then you may want to see somebody, or factor in getting some minerals into your system. Your body might be depleted from minerals. I would always work with somebody on this, to maybe a nutritionalist or someone, or talk to your doctor about there's trace minerals that are out there, and so that might be something you could work with them on, and see if you can add some of that to your diet safely. There can be other factors on the muscle testing, so I think sometimes we have to troubleshoot it. So I would say you can come to my website, which is www.wayofthefrog.com, and just shoot me an email, and I'm happy to help see if we can maybe troubleshoot that if you're still having problems with it. I would recommend highly Brent Phillips. This is a great, he's fantastic with all these types of things. He has a different approach a little bit to the clearing process. They're similar in some ways. That took a blend of things, and his stuff was fantastic. I like the batch clearing approach that we've been using. I think it's pretty fantastic, and it's a little bit faster for me, so that's what I'll be showing. But on the flip side, he's a great resource if you want to learn how to really get questions and going through those. So I would most definitely stop in there if you want to learn how to drill down and really get into this stuff, or if you want to get certified and learn. It's a different technique, but he's great, so you can definitely stop there. And I think he has a huge resource of different questions where he does block clearing stuff, and he has an outstanding resource of just endless questions. So you can always sign up there and sign up for it. It's not very much money. You can get a membership there, and you can have access to all the questions that he has access to, and you can either use his method or you can use mine on this approach. And but his approach is a little different. I blend in a lot of the there's a lot of visualization stuff. There's reframing, anchoring, there's EFT, so I have a very diverse arsenal of tools that I use, and he's also got some spectacular ones too. So that's just a quick, if you're looking for kind of a database resource of questions, I would say go there. It's great. If you're looking for another resource, there's a great one called Awakenings Institute, and that one, they have a vast amount of resources. A lot of it's heart-centered, and they do a lot with dealing with the emotional. They also have quite an amazing resource for manifesting what you do want in your life. So it's largely about working through old issues and then also setting a whole new path. And so that's the course that I've been taking this year, and it's really amazing. It's life-changing. I would do it. It's a year-long class, and you get to train in all of these techniques, and then you have them for the rest of your life. You can use them with your children if you have children, or even family members, and you can help them and yourself. So through the course of it, you'll be helping yourself the whole way through. And that's Awakenings Institute. And Philip and Jane are great. So that's another resource. I love getting people as many options as they can possibly handle or more. So that's another resource. And what they do a lot of focusing with visualization work, and so teaching some of those techniques, and just it's almost too much or so much. But the good news is that they do spend a year, and it's a really well done program. So you will learn all that stuff. As much as there is, you'll learn all of it, and it's great. Okay, so back to the muscle testing component. So we talked about the chain link, and we talked about the standing test, and we talked about drinking enough water and the possibility of needing trace minerals, or maybe to factor in your diet if you're having problems with testing. So here's a little bit of a new piece here. The one of the things that I found to be kind of interesting with the muscle testing is that sometimes what you'll get is a strange test where it's inconclusive, and you can tell. It's a lot easier to tell with the chain link with the the thumb and index, where you've made a chain link, and because it will slide. So sometimes it will slide, and usually what I do if I get a response like that where it's sliding, I will rephrase the question, or I will ask a question that's a little bit more clear, I guess, or maybe a little bit more information to the question. So if I said, if I walk into a store and somebody makes me feel weird, or I kind of panic and I have no idea why I panic, I might ask a question like, the panic was caused by something inside of me, and if the answer is yes, then at least I have an idea of this was caused by me, not them. And then the next question is, I felt judged. And so if I say, wow, I felt judged, and I could ask the question, I felt judged. But if it slides a little bit, you may need to put the question in a little bit different format. So I felt judged by her, like if there was a person there at the store, and the answer would be no. Now I can ask, I felt judged by me, and I get a yes. So I was judging myself in that situation, and it made me feel judged. So sometimes the sliding is it means that it needs a little bit more information, and it's not quite sure, but it's not a yes and it's not a no. It's just you're going to need to clarify the question a little bit more. So that's one. And sometimes if you've worded a question and it's too lengthy, you may need to break it in half. So I've had people come with really long sentences, and part of the statement was true, but part of it wasn't true, and so the fingers will sometimes slide. And I find that one to be pretty interesting. So sometimes, if you have a long statement, try breaking it into pieces a little bit, and making it into 2 sentences and test those. Because it's really easy to get a little carried away with these. But if the question is confusing to your subconscious mind, it's just like it just kind of fizzles out, and it just can't really give you a straight answer. So just rephrase it until you can get it worded in a way that makes sense and is testable. And again, you'll need to word things in a way that it's a statement. It's a positively worded statement. So no, you don't want to use no or don't or or not or non. You just stay away from those. There's always a way to frame it in a statement that's positive. You just have to, think about it. Sometimes it can take a little bit to try and figure out how to formulate it, but just keep at it, and you'll figure it out. And like I said, if you're really confused on how to get a huge list of questions, you can always go over and go to Brent Phillips and learn his technique, and also you can access all of his huge database of questions, which is great. So that's muscle testing in a sense. And a couple of those things are things that I hadn't read anywhere, and I just hadn't stumbled into with some of those stranger ones about like the finger sliding. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood it's happened enough, and we've been able to figure it out of what we need to do when those things happen. So that's the stuff that I wanted to share for the muscle testing. And the questioning, there's ways to kind of scale things down. So, for example, if somebody, kind of give you a general example of one that we've done before. So we have, a situation with somebody that says, I feel like people are mean to me, and, we can ask the question of, well, let's see if we can figure out where your first experience was with, your traumatic experience was of people hurting you. So you can ask the question, my first experience with people being mean to me was between the ages of 1 and 5. Yes or no? And, a lot of times it'll be yes. And then you can drill it down. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can test for those. So there's a way to kind of shrink that down. And then you can say, my experience of people being mean to me was in my own family, or was from my family. If it's a no, then it'd be was from someone, was from a relative. And an interesting one we had, it was from my own family, or from my parents, and it slid a little bit, and then we realized it wasn't the parents, it was a sibling, and that was interesting. So it was like, well, it's kind of family, but it's not her parents. So it was a sliding one with the finger. So we rephrased it to say it went from parents to family. Family was a yes, and it was like, it was a sibling. Okay, yes. And so you can see how it's trying to, you're able to kind of navigate, and you can slowly get a feel for the way your body responds to the questions, especially if you're doing the chain link type of a muscle test. That one is, I think, real easy, and you can do it while you're sitting down. You can't obviously do it driving, because you're driving and you need your hands on the wheel, but you can, you don't want to do that in the car. So do that, get your list of questions going. You can kind of do what I'm doing. I mean, you could, if you want to make good use of your time, you can, set your phone to record, or get a tape recorder, and just start listing off some of the questions that you can think of that you'd like to test for later, and then you can go back over those and test them when you are in a safe place to do so. So that's also food for thought. And then as you kind of clear those things out, so then you can make your list, and then do the batch clearing, and then you're going to retest for each one of those issues to see which ones still remain. Now, when something's remaining, that's a great one, because that's one that you're going to need to take an extra step, and we'll go through a different sequence to clear for a deeper related issue. And there's ways to do that. It's just a little bit longer, so it's better to kind of go through the sequence where you've cleared out as much as you can before that And then basically it's just a little bit of a longer phrasing, and to be able to do that clear. So basically, those are your best ones, by the way. I meant to throw that in there. The ones that don't like to shift, the ones that are kind of sticking around, are usually the ones that will have some of the best benefits for you, because they're the ones that are lodged in there the deepest, and you're going to feel the best when those ones are gone. And so, those are the ones to kind of jump up and down about. Awesome, I have this. It's not about, Brent actually says this probably better than I can, is that, this is not to phrase him, but just his general, over what I took away from it was, this is, when you get large blocks, things that are hard to get rid of, and you can get rid of those, then you've, those are the ones to not get upset about. Those are the ones to be really happy about, because you found something that's lodged in there really deep that's probably wreaking havoc in your life. And so it's not something to be upset that, wow, I couldn't get this to clear. It's, oh my goodness, I found one. Diamond in the rough, and now we got to polish it. But that's okay, because we found a diamond in the rough. This is great. And so that's, if you do run into one that won't move, do a happy dance, and then we'll go through the other process of going to a level 2 type clear. So anyway, that's just a little bit on the muscle testing. I know there's no visuals on this, but it really is very simple, and I can show some pictures. I'll probably do a video at some point here on this, and that way you can, and hopefully I can link it at the bottom so that you'll be able to get to the muscle testing visuals. So that's all I got for now, and everybody keep at it, keep working on those questions, get those lists going, and we'll talk more about maybe how to get some of those questions put together and some of the processes for thinking through your question to get to the questions that you need to make the biggest difference. Thanks.